Welcome to Zambia at 60. Zambia is celebrating 60 years of independence this year, 2024. Over the past 6 decades, the country's banking sector has undergone remarkable transformations, playing a crucial role in the nation's economic growth and development. Let's join my colleague Faith Katai as she interacts with Mr. Leonard Mwanza, the Chief Executive Officer for the Bankers Association of Zambia, looking at the evolution of Zambia's banking sector, the key milestones, and how it has adapted to meet the changing needs of businesses and individuals.
Thank you, Alice. Welcome. This is Zambia at 60. My name is Faith Katai. As Zambia celebrates 60 years of independence, its banking sector has undergone a period of rapid expansion and diversification. On this episode, we are focusing on Zambia at 60 in the banking sector. And we are talking to Mr. Leonard Mwanza, the Chief Executive Officer for the Bankers Association of Zambia. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine.
So to start the program, what is the mandate for the Bankers Association of Zambia?
The Bankers Association of Zambia is a business association. We do represent the interests of the registered and licensed commercial banks in Zambia. Currently, in terms of our membership, we have 15 commercial banks. So we are the mouthpiece of the banking sector. Our role is to convene the banks to discuss issues that affect them and then lobby and advocate to ensure that the policies, the regulations, and laws that govern the operation of banking is aligned to shareholder value and the interests of our members. So our role is just to ensure that we are there to listen to the needs of our members. I think more important, we also are there to ensure that our members deliver value to their shareholders, but more importantly, help to grow the economy, help to improve livelihoods at individual level, help to improve and help growing businesses from the various sectors, whether it's small business, big business. So banks will always be there. We always say banks are the engine of our economy, and we see it in the way our members are helping to drive our Zambian economy.
Can you give us a brief background of Zambia's banking sector?
Well, you want to imagine actually, the banking sector is older than the Zambian government, or let's say the country. So banking in Zambia entered this market way back in 1905. So if you count, it was 59 years to Independence Day, which is nearly 60 years. And we are 60 years post-independence. So the banking sector was there 60 years before independence, way before we saw any development, well before any major industries were set up, including the mines in this country. So the early settlers, the early farmers that came with the legendary Cecil Rhodes, as he was putting up the rail line. It wasn't just a rail line. There were workers that came through. There were early settlers who were farmers. So, as you know, at one time, the seat of governance for pre-colonial times was Kalomo, and that is where banking started. So in 1905, Standard Chartered Bank put up a very modest structure, which became the first entry of banking in Zambia. I must mention that line by line with the entry of commercial banking in Zambia in 1905, we are aware that the Post Bank was also coming along to serve the interests of the first white settlers. So we do have a very good and long history around this economy, and banking has seen it all way back from 1905, and we were there even during independence.
Which one is the first bank that was in operation in Zambia?
So the first bank in Zambia was Standard Chartered Bank. It opened in 1905 in Kalomo district. A few years later, it was followed by Barclays Bank in 1918, and a little later, I think in the 40s thereabout, AN's Greensbelt Bank also came into our market. So by the time we were going to independence, basically we had 3 international banks: Standard Chartered Bank, Barclays Bank, and ANZ Greensbelt Bank. This was an Australian bank, which these were the banks that were operating at the point of independence. So banks were there; they saw it all.
How many banks did we have in 1964 at the time Zambia gained its independence?
The number of banks that we had were 3, and all these were foreign-owned banks. We had Standard Chartered Bank, as I said earlier. We also had Barclays Bank and ANZ Greensbelt Bank. So towards independence, at independence, this country had 3 commercial banks operating and serving the Zambian public.
Mr. Monza would like to know how many banks are currently in operation.
So at independence, there were 3 banks, and they were mainly serving the interests of the minority white settler community, as well as the businesses mainly owned by the whites. But we saw that towards independence, there were a few Zambians who were owning businesses, but at individual level, most Zambians did not have bank accounts. For those that had the privilege to have a bank account, they were only holding a savings account. So post-independence, I think it's important we talk about what happened. How do we transit to the current number of banks? So post-independence, towards the early material economic reforms, I think the government felt that they needed to take control of the economy. As I said, at independence, we had 3 foreign-owned banks. So the Zambian government then, by 1968, felt they needed to take hold of the economy, and they put resources together and they created the first indigenous bank called the Zambia National Commercial Bank. That was in 1969. They're clocking 55 this year. So that became the journey of banking in terms of participation of foreign-owned institutions as well as the government-owned banks. I think later on the government also set up institutions like the Development Bank of Zambia, the National Savings and Credit Bank, the Zambia National Building Society. So things continue to evolve. Now, in terms of the human capital aspect, I think it's also important to talk about that. Before independence and post-independence, most of the employees in the banks were basically whites, all the way into probably early 70s. As you know, when we were attending independence, we didn't have a lot of qualified people. But then eventually they were able to get the Zambian that had some form of basic education. And in the early years of banking, basically, it was just a passion. It wasn't the most highly paying sector, but people had that passion, and people counted royalty. And there were rules actually at that time in terms of when you join the bank, you really try to stuck to the bank until you retire. Until maybe in the 90s when things started changing, that's when we started seeing people having opportunity to go into other banks. So as we were going to the 80s, I think we saw new banks coming in, the likes of Indo-Zambia Bank, which we think they started operating in the mid-80s. And then we also saw indigenous initiatives, people operating their own banks. And that continued all the way into, and even other players, I think, as we went into the 90s, the ANZ Greensbelt Bank was overtaken by Standard Bank. And we've seen a lot of other banks that have been coming, especially towards the 2000s. They came, they tried the market, but I think most of them fell off along the way because they couldn't meet the new capital requirements that were introduced in 1994. But going into late 2000, we also saw the dynamics in terms of the change of the interests of those that wanted to operate banking as a business in the market. We saw more South African banks coming through. I think FNB, we also saw West African banks coming through, the likes of Access, the likes of EcoBank, the likes of UBS. So the environment now changed in terms of the origin countries. At independence, most of those were from the UK, and then the other one was from Australia. But post that, the dynamics in terms of participation started changing. So we now have banks that represent the global space. We have an American bank called Citibank. We have banks that represent the West African bloc like EcoBank, UBA, Access Bank, the Indian government, they got interest in Indo-Zambia. Later on, we saw the Chinese government also setting up their Bank of China. So as we sit now, we have 15 commercial banks that are operating in our market.
Let's take a short break. Stay tuned.
It's 60 years of independence. Welcome to Zambia at 60. I am Alice Banda.
I'm Juliet Mtale.
Now, Juliet, we are heading towards 24th of October when Zambia attained its independence. Something worth to remember.
Indeed, Alice, something worth to remember, so memorable, a good thing to walk to freedom. Join us on Zenith TV as we bring to you different independence stories from across the country. Watch Topster Channel 6 DTT
and Channel 458 DTH.
Don't miss.
Welcome back. This is Zambia at 60, and we are taking a journey through a remarkable story of the banking sector for our country. And we are featuring Mr. Leonard Mwanza, the Chief Executive Officer for the Bankers Association of Zambia. Sir, back to our interview. What are some of the strides that have been scored in the banking sector?
I think, as I said, the banking started in 1905. Zambia was not yet developed. Even the infrastructure that was there was very, very, very basic. So when I see the infrastructure you see on the Copper Belt, the infrastructure you see in Lusaka, in all the provincial capitals and across the country, be assured that the banks were there in terms of providing the funding, providing the transaction services. So banks have played a key role in seeing the development that we've seen, not just post-independence, even pre-independence. So we've seen it all, from nothing to where we are. So the banks have been there in terms of ensuring that we have an efficient and innovative financial market. People are able to access banking services. We're able to ensure that more and more people are financially included. We are also able to ensure that people are educated to understand the various products that are on offer in the market. So I think the most important thing is that the growth we have seen in Zambia has, in a way, been facilitated by the banks that have been operating in the market. Some have come and gone, others are still around. So we will still continue to be there to ensure that people are given the opportunities to change their livelihoods.
What are some of the lessons from the last 60 years, and what are the best practices that we need to carry forward?
So it's interesting to basically pick that, or to say that banking started in a very manual way, ledger cards, someone filling your bank details using an ink and paper. Later on, there are those ledger machines you type in and that kind of thing. Well, we've now gone into the fourth industrial revolution where it's about digital banking. I'm glad to say we've replaced paper and all the manual processes. People used to wait up to 7 days to get their money. You deposit a check here, wait for 7 days or whatever number of days, depending on where the account is held and where the check has been drawn. But I think we've moved away from that. In those days, money could only be accessed in a bank. You walk in a bank, queue up. I think there used to be a lot of queues in a lot of these banks. People would be sweating, standing on those queues just to access their money. We are past that. We have given the power to individuals. Banking is 24/7 in their hands, on their phones, on their iPads, on their laptops. So I think we have managed to transit the market from the manual banking to a world-class innovative banking environment where people now can transact anytime. I think the mobile money space is a case in point. People now can receive money anytime. In fact, if you need money and you have someone who has money and you can ask them to give you the money, they will do it within seconds. So the convenience, the efficiencies that we've put in the market to ensure that the transaction flows seamlessly in real time, 24/7. I think it's a great achievement. So people can access the money, whether they're going to get the money on the ATM, whether they're going to use their card point of sale, whether they're going to use their card wherever they used to go. We no longer have to go and give the travelers checks. You know, you are traveling out of the country, you have to apply and you go to a bank to get traveler check. These days, all you need is to make sure that you have a well-funded account in Kwacha, and you can transact and your money will be, you make use of your money anywhere across the globe. So I think we are part of the global banking space where innovation is driving banking, digitization, AI, and all those things are driving innovation in our sector. So we are part of that advancement, and we are glad to see that people now have the convenience of banking anytime they want to.
What is the association, the Bankers Association of Zambia, doing to improve financial inclusion in the country?
So that's one of our key roles. It's not just about banking operating in our market. They must operate in our market and ensure that they reach the underserved. They also reach the underbanked. So what banks are doing is to ensure that they deploy innovative digital channels that allow, first of all, and facilitate the self-onboarding processes. You just download an app for a particular financial institution. There you go, you fill in your details. Within 15 minutes, you have your bank account. You can transact. So that's financial inclusion, meaning it doesn't matter wherever you are, so long you have access to a mobile phone, probably an Android phone, and probably you live in an environment where government has facilitated access to the internet. But with all these innovations, we no longer have to depend on the masts. Sometimes those with a little bit of money, and if they want access to internet, they can get these new gadgets. We now have Starlink, right? So meaning you can move with that. I was reading the other day, you can have a portable Starlink kit, meaning you can have access to your internet wherever you are, whether you're on the go, wherever you are. So onboarding can now be facilitated. You don't necessarily have to be near a bank. You can be onboarded wherever you are. Now, when we talk about financial inclusion, we do know that digital banking, mobile banking has been the key facilitator and enabler to financial inclusion. We are happy to say that in 2020, when the FinScope survey was done, we had reached a milestone of 69.4% in terms of the financially included. We still have a target and an ambition to reach 80% of the country. I think in next year there will be another validation, there will be another FinScope study. We hope and believe that we may have reached that milestone of 80%. And then from there, I think our target is to ensure that we work towards ensuring that anyone who needs a bank account, a financial service, wherever they are, they should have access to it. Whether they're using onboarding procedures or they're using physical branches, it doesn't matter. What matters is they must have access to a financial service. And I think we're doing well. The social cash transfer payments are now being paid using mobile channels. That's financial inclusion. People that are supplying their crop produce to FRA, they're being paid through their mobile money. That's financial inclusion. So I think we've done great in terms of ensuring that more and more people are within the financial landscape and they are financially included. And I think the initiative that we are putting in to ensure that we have real-time, 24-hour real instant payment system, we integrate even in terms of the regional payment system. We're talking about real-time, small value regional payment system. So that all those cross-border people that may be going to Tanzania, they're going to Zimbabwe to get whatever they might wish to get. The future want to see is that they don't need to carry money. Their mobile money should be sufficient. And they can do e-commerce transaction without worrying about any securities. That's the future of what we want to see. So I think we are making good strides towards ensuring that more and more people are financially included. But more importantly, we also make sure that they're not just financially included. We have been facilitators and enablers of changing the curriculum in the nation. Now, financial education is taught from early childhood all the way to tertiary education. So people are learning simple things about money issues, how to budget money, how to understand income sources and everything else. I think we are planting a seed and changing a generation in terms of their thought processes towards money. A good number of us didn't have that opportunity to sit down, to be told how to budget, how to look at things. But the kids of nowadays, they're learning that in their classroom. So we hope that they will be given those life practical skills around money management issues, and that these are people that won't have so many emotions when they have money, but they will have the ability to see money as an opportunity that can improve their livelihoods.
Mr. Mwanza, how do you envision the banking sector? Like, what is the future outlook for the banking sector in Zambia?
So I would say that let's look at 60 years and the phenomenal achievement we've seen. I was looking at the first branch of our bank, Standard Chartered Bank, very modest. I mean, look at the beauty of their new head office. That is in 60 years. I'm seeing that the next 60 years or more, there'll be double opportunities for everyone. We should see a growing economy. We should see improved livelihoods. And I think everything that we see, I always say that if we've achieved this in 60 years, we are yet to achieve more, but in double portions. So if you look at the city of Lusaka, in the next 60 years, it will not accommodate 3 million people. Perhaps we'll be talking double the number. Maybe there'll be 6-7 million people living in Lusaka. So there'll be double opportunities for everyone. So the banks will be there to make sure that they provide those opportunities for growth, whether people want to improve their livelihoods through acquisition of homes, whether they want to start businesses, whether they want to start farming, whether they want to go into the tourism business. Be assured that the banking sector will always be there. And we've been doing this for the last 60 years. And we are confident that with the central bank support, in terms of their regulations, their strategy, financial sector stability, financial inclusion and pricing issues, I think we are on a good path towards ensuring that we reach a point where all of us can participate meaningfully in the economy, and the banks are there to make sure that the resources that people might require are given to them as and when they need them.
What message does the association have for Zambia's 60th anniversary?
Well, we are happy to have participated in the growth of this country in the last 60 years. We firmly believe that there's more growth to come in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, and the banks will be there to ensure that I think they respond to the needs and to provide solutions. We, as a sector, we focus on providing solutions. And we've been doing that for 120 years, helping to grow businesses, helping to grow individuals' livelihoods, improving people's homes and putting a smile in people's livelihoods, whether that smile is about education improvement, whether that smile is about having a new car, buying a farm, having a birthday celebration or a wedding, and you need that kind of support. I think the banks have been there. They will be there. I think, as I said, we see more opportunities than we've seen in the last 6 years. So we remain very optimistic in terms of the prospects for the Zambian economy, particularly for the banking sector. We can see that I think we can look forward to a stage where we all live in an economy where we participate fully and help to grow the economy as a collective team.
Thank you, sir, for your time. We really appreciate.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine. And I would like to wish the Zambian public a happy 60th anniversary, and the banks will be there for you.
Viewers, that is all we had for you on Zambia at 60. This is Faith Katai.
From that interview, we have seen that from the nationalization of banks in the 1960s to the embrace of digital banking today, Zambia's banking sector has come a long way. As the country celebrates 60 years of independence, it's clear that the banking industry has been a driving force behind Zambia's economic progress. As we look at the future, the resilience and innovation of Zambia's banks will continue to be crucial in supporting the country's development and the financial well-being of its people. Viewers, that is all we prepared for you on Zambia at 60. On behalf of the entire Zanis production team, this has been Alice Banda saying goodbye and God bless you.